Eugene City Council meeting. Welcome to everyone here and at home. The first item up on our City Council meeting is always a public forum. The public forum is an opportunity for individuals to speak to the City Council on any city-related issues except on those items which have already been heard by a hearings official or are on tonight's agenda as a public hearing. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak. When you come to the podium, please give your name, your city of residence, and for Eugene residents, your ward if you know it. The timer lights indicate the time you have to speak. A yellow light will come on when you have 15 seconds to complete your comments. The red light indicates the end of 3 minutes. So we have this evening, I should tell you that we already did the consent calendar, so that's not left to be done tonight. So I just wanted you to know that ahead of time. We have 5 people signed up to speak tonight. The first is Quentin McGuire, followed by Joseph ZDZ. Quentin.
My name is Quentin McGuire. I'm a resident of the City of Eugene. I'm a resident in Ward Number 5. And the topic I'd like to bring up is obstruction of view at intersections of traffic. I recently got in a bicycle accident because a car did not stop at the proper stop sign going onto Cal Young Road. I was on my bicycle heading towards school from Willow Gillespie Road over towards Sheldon High School, where I attend school, and the car did not stop. I swerved to avoid the car, did not want to swerve into traffic, and I ended up crashing into a bunch of bushes. And the car just kept going. By law, cars are supposed to stop before they enter the street, meaning they're supposed to stop at sidewalks, not on the sidewalk, but right before they enter the street. That car did not stop until he got into the bicycle lane where I was riding my bicycle. I was wondering if there was anything that could be done about obstructions at traffic intersections, because I know personally that cars cannot see if they stop at the proper stop sign at multiple intersections, not just the one I was at. And I don't have any specific ideas as to what can be done, but I was just hoping bringing up the topic could be beneficial.
Thank you very much. Next is Joseph ZDZ, followed by Michael Sussman.
Good evening, Mayor, City Councilors, staff, audience. My name is Joseph Shekielsz-Janitsky. I live at 1025 Taylor Street in Ward 1. And if you get this copy that everyone has. Okay, now these are boardings. I'm talking about that. These are the latest boardings. They just gave out this paperwork 3 weeks ago. And you can see the first line, 7,100 ridership daily. The second line going up to Gateway is 22. And granted, that's a relatively new line, so the ridership's not quite there yet. And the ridership out to West Eugene is about 800 right now. Okay? Now, here's the point. They're off about 4 to 4.5 miles out and back. The first leg cost $23 million. The second one cost $42 million. This one's projected for 2017 at $95.6 million. Now, you have an intergovernmental agreement with LTD, and I know the city's not paying for it, but why in the world is it costing 4 times as much now as the first leg, which was just 6 years ago? I asked LTD. I've never gotten an answer. I think it's time for the City Council to ask that very important question as to why it's costing 4 times as much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next is Michael Sussman, followed by Zachary Vishanoff.
Good evening. My name is Michael Sussman. I live at 2685 Oak Street in the friendly neighborhood in Eugene. I've been a resident of Eugene for over 35 years. I raised my children here. They've gone through public school in the University of Oregon. I'm a tenant. I rent an apartment. I'm also a landlord. I own a home and I have tenants. I'm a business person. I've had my own business for over 5 years, and I'm a member of Transition Eugene. I come to speak about the Community Climate and Energy Action Plan. Earlier this evening, Matt McRae presented his progress report to the City Council, and I and many people that I speak with in business, neighbors in the community, are very much in support of this plan. And we're very proud that you, the City Council, are taking a long-range view of the issues which are affecting us, have already begun to affect us, issues of climate change, issues of decreasing availability of carbon-based fuels. We see that in the rise in gas prices. I encourage the City Council to hold to the guidelines of the CEAP as you make policy decisions in many other areas that affect our city. As a business person, I'm very, very concerned about the economic impact of the issues of energy uncertainty and climate change, and I believe that working toward a more resilient economy is a wise and prudent step to take, and I believe that is addressed to a large extent by the CEAP. One example that Matt McRae gave in the progress report is that our community spends about $200 million per year on gasoline and diesel, and the majority of that goes out of our community. So again, that's one example that we can address by holding to the guidelines, the goals, the objectives of the Community Climate and Energy Action Plan. I and other members of Transition Eugene will be following this closely, keeping an eye on how we're all doing. We look forward to working as partners with the city on this, and I encourage you to work with residents as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Zachary Bischonoff is next, followed by Wayne Ford.
Hello, everybody. Zachary Bischonoff, Ward 3. As usual, I have this predicament of trying to maybe make some complex points with 3 minutes, and it's kind of a dysfunctional way to try to operate, but I'll still give it my best shot, so here it goes. George Brown and I have had some conversations about policing and the changes coming to campus policing, and I wanted to urge him publicly to build a coalition of 4 that would have a work session, and would, at that work session, you could take action to have a couple hearings about this big change coming. The university says it's on a 6-year timeline for arming campus police, and that they'll respond to the community. I think you need to, this city hall could take a really leadership role in letting U of O develop a proposal that's actually palatable, legal, well understood. Right now it's all very amorphous, and I know George, because you can go in the Kiva, you can buy something, you have a complicated little discussion with them, and it's beyond the 3-minute limit, you know. And so I'm feeling like there's probably 4 of these or 3 of these other counselors that might support at least having the discussion over whether do students get, you know, 2 hearings in the city council chamber to say good things or bad things about the proposal. Should staff get, or the workers who run the campus? There's so many voices, and having a little those little things they do on campus or some hearing on campus really won't connect like you guys rolling out the welcoming discussion of that issue. I'm also concerned because as it's being characterized and pushed through the legislature, that the city of Eugene is being talked about as the supporter of it. And so one thing these hearings would do is clarifying what you're supporting, because this gives the university a chance to give all the details on really what they want and what their long-term goal is and what they've heard so far and concerns. Because my understanding is 80% of students voted to oppose this in the recent election on campus. Lastly, I will say that on the radio recently, KPNW, the ASUO executive seemed to think 2 hearings at City Hall was a good idea. So I urge you to consider it and do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Last up is Wayne Ford.
Madam Mayor, councilors, my name is Wayne Ford. I reside at 85560 Farverud Road, Eugene. I am here representing the Homeless Action Coalition as its chair. And first I want to thank this council for all the positive reinforcement we've gotten in our work over the years trying to improve things with the homeless. We view you and the EPD as partners in this. You've done a wonderful job. I know several months back we talked about getting some more spaces added to the St. Vincent de Paul camping program, and I hope you're still working on that and still have that in mind because the weather's getting bad. But I also wanted to give you a little update on what we're doing as the Homeless Action Coalition. We've been negotiating with the County Parks Department, and I just came from a meeting with the County Parks and Recreation Commission where they voted unanimously to start a pilot program in one of their county parks to get a couple of spaces from the St. Vincent de Paul program or added to it as quickly as possible, and then in order to present their findings on this pilot program to the commissioners to see if they can institute it in more county parks around the county. So just wanted to let you know what we're doing and hope to be in touch with you in the near future about how you're progressing on the same project. Thank you very much.
Thank you. To close the public forum, I'm going to thank the folks that came. I think we're always concerned, Mr. McGuire, about issues that affect public safety that you brought forward. And my only comment is maybe you'll want to connect with folks that work on the bike plan and connect that public safety issue to that with them. Thank you, Mr. Sussman, for coming, and it's good to hear that kind of support. Zach, that certainly is an important issue around the police department on campus. And Wayne, thank you so much for bringing us that good information that maybe we'll be seeing an addition of a couple spaces, and maybe it'll be in more than one location. So we're glad to hear that. It's a huge need in our area. So thank you so much for coming. All right, Councilor Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, Quentin, I just wanted to say I was sorry that you got hit. That sounds like a real drag. I'm sorry to hear that. As that occurred in my ward, I think I know exactly where you're talking about. If you'll send me an email or give me a call, I'll make sure we have a chance to talk with Public Works, too, to make sure that it's in compliance as it should be in that area, and everything that we can do from the city's perspective is taken care of to make it safe, okay?
Thank you again, everyone. And we're going to move on to, as I said earlier, we have finished with the consent calendars. We're now to item 3 on our agenda for this evening. That's the appointment to the Sustainability Commission. Just for your information, Council has done interviews and gone through their list, and they've narrowed it down, and now they have someone to nominate for the open position. Council President.
I move to appoint Stacy Venn to position 2 on the Sustainability Commission, an unexpired term ending on June 30th, 2013.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? Seeing Councilor, well, they're not coming up on my board. Oh, you're voting already. All right, so vote. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you. We're now to action item number 4. That's the Planning Commission, and we have 2 positions open there. First one, Council President.
I move to appoint Mark Baker to position 1 on the Planning Commission for the unexpired term ending on June 30th, 2012.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Pauling.
Move to amend to read, I move to appoint John Jaworski.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right, so the, Councilor Pauling.
Thank you. We did some 5 interviews last week, and all 5 candidates, to me, were exceptionally good candidates to choose from. John recently undertook a massive project of working with the Cal Young Neighborhood Association, figuring out how to go about dividing that up into 3 neighborhood associations. His background is quite extensive, and to put it bluntly, as far as the Planning Commission, he gets it. He absolutely gets it and understands it. So I'm not saying that one is worse than the other. I'm just saying I think that John has worked hard, and I'd like to see him appointed to the Planning Commission.
Councilor Clark.
Yeah, I'd like to echo all of Councilor Polling's comments just now and add to that, as I mentioned in our earlier meeting, this is the project that he took on is something that's been discussed and tried by multiple other leadership teams in the Cal Young Neighborhood Association for many, many years. It is a huge effort, and he did a fantastic job with it. And the thing that I really admire about John is his dedication and his work effort, and I think he would be a very, very good planning commissioner because he, A, is willing to do the work, but B, that his level of dedication was so high. So I'll be supporting him.
Councilor Zelenka.
I won't be supporting the motion. I'll support the original motion for Mark Baker, Steve Baker. For 20 years plus, he's been in the neighborhood associations working on it. I think he has a really good grasp of understanding of the neighborhoods, livability and development issues, and I think those are all key to being able to work effectively on the Planning Commission. So I'm going to support the original motion.
Okay, I think we're ready to vote on the substitute motion. Would you please vote? Well, I kind of thought that was coming. So I think both of these are really good candidates, and I think either one of them can do it really well. I happen to think we're in the middle, especially with Envision Eugene, and with our town and gown and so forth. We're in a really important time in terms of the infill compatibility discussion and opportunity citing, so I'm going to vote no on this substitute motion. It goes down. We're back to the main motion. Would you please vote on that? Okay. 8 in favor and none in opposition. It passes. Thank you all very much. So with that, congratulations to Mr. Baker, and congratulations to Ms. Vine, and congratulations to Ms. Mason for their... Oh, we haven't done Mason yet. One more, sorry. Do that one.
I move to appoint Sarah Mason to position 5 on the Planning Commission for the unexpired term ending on June 30th, 2014.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Now, any discussion? Okay, please vote. Then I can say congratulations. Maybe. 8 in favor, none in opposition. All right, congratulations, all 3 of them. Thank you very much. And now we're going to move on to the last item on our agenda tonight, which is the ward redistricting and scenarios. And I think Jason's going to talk to us about that. So, and maybe help us walk through that a little bit.
Good evening, Mayor and Councilors. Here to give you a quick update on where we are regarding ward redistricting. While I'm chatting with you on some of our updates since we last talked to you, we're going to have a couple of maps set up that we'll have to refer to here in a few minutes. So at your last work session on ward redistricting, which was September 26th, you considered several different scenarios for changes to the ward boundaries. Those included several options on Scenario 1 as well as Scenario 2. Most of your discussion was around Scenario 1, in particular around Scenario 1C and 1E. We have completed our mapping as well as the data associated with both of those scenarios. Let me walk you quickly through the packet that you have. Each of the two scenarios has 4 maps associated with it. The first map shows the scenario along with the existing ward boundaries. The second map shows the scenario with the changes from our current boundaries highlighted in orange. The third map shows that scenario up against our neighborhood boundaries. And the fourth map is just a plain map of what the wards would look like under that scenario with nothing else overlaid on them. So we have those 4 maps for each of the two scenarios, Scenario 1C and 1E. And then at the back you have all the data for our current wards as well as Scenario 1, Scenario 1C, and Scenario 1E. So as you'll recall from your discussions on September 26th, there were several small changes to Scenario 1, which were encompassed in Scenario 1C. Those were some changes out in the airport area, also along 6th Street and 6th and 7th near where the split with Highway 99 is. There was also a small change around Civic Stadium. 1E, and there was the ongoing change, which was how Ward 2 grows into Ward 3. 1E, you asked us to roll all of those changes from 1C into the same scenario, but also include a different option on how Ward 2 would grow into Ward 3. So 1C and 1E are virtually identical, with the exception of that area. And I'll come over here. The biggest change that I want to highlight that you'll notice between 1C and 1E is primarily how Ward 2 grows into Ward 3. If you look at 1E on the left, you can see that Ward 2 grows into Ward 3 in more of a north-south fashion. And Ward, oh, yes, thank you. Where's the phantom pointer? There it is. And that Ward C on the right, Ward 2 grows into Ward 3 in more of an east-west fashion. So that's really the primary difference between the two scenarios. There is a small change on the Ward 1, Ward 3 boundary, with the line between them no longer being Willamette Street under 1E, but it shifts over to Pearl. So small change there. Otherwise, the two scenarios are virtually the same. It's important to note that both scenarios, the total population difference between wards does not exceed 3%. So it's within that guideline that you set for both of them. Your options tonight are to provide direction on a scenario for us to take forward from here. It either would be to provide us with information on an additional scenario that you would like staff to work on, or to direct staff to move forward with one of these scenarios, prepare a resolution, and bring that back to you for your meeting on October 24th. So that's pretty much it. Just a quick tour of those two things. Not a lot really there to talk about. Here to answer any questions you may have about those changes.
Any questions from anybody? I don't see any. So,
Thank you.
President?
I move to direct the city manager to prepare a resolution and map to adopt Scenario 1C as Eugene's new board boundaries.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Councilor Clark.
Move to substitute for 1E.
Second.
Moved and seconded to substitute E. Councilor Ortiz.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to hear from the councilors that this affects, because the difference in these two wards actually affect, in the two maps, really don't affect Ward 7, Ward 5, Ward 6, Ward 8. They affect Wards 1, 3, and 2. So if you could allow those folks to talk, Mayor, that would be great.
Councilor Zelenka.
Yeah, I support 1E for 3 reasons. The first is that one of the tenets that we had in developing these different draft scenarios was to minimize the change that occurs to people. And for the last 10 years, the Amazon neighborhood, George, which is right there, or right there, has been in Ward 3. Wow, cool. And it would remain in Ward 3 under Scenario 1E, but would shift to Ward 2, where it was previously in 1C. The other part is that I think the Amazon neighbors the biggest, having represented them for the last 5 years, I think the biggest issue that they deal with is the issues revolving around the University of Oregon and the influx of students and all those associated issues around that. That's the issues I hear most about. And keeping them together with the West University neighborhood, the South University neighborhood, and the Fairmont neighborhood, which all have similar issues, creates a block of interest that I think would keep them together and maintain that block of interest in dealing with the University of Oregon and those associated issues. And then finally, I think those folks in that Amazon neighborhood probably affiliate more with folks north of 30th Avenue, but that's just conjecture. And then I'd point out I think in both scenarios, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, in both scenarios, Civic Stadium stays in Ward 1.
That is correct, yes.
Okay. So Civic Stadium stays with the friendly neighborhood.
Councilor Taylor?
Thank you. If you look at that, it looks like where the 1E looks like gerrymandering when you have that little sliver go up north. But I think that the elementary school at Camas Ridge has more in common. Actually, the east part of Ward 2 has more in common with the Amazon neighbors. There's the Camas Ridge School, which the people from south of 30th go to. They shop at Sundance and Black Sun and Humble Bagel and Allen Brothers, and walk in the Masonic Cemetery, and it seems like a natural part of Ward 2 and was until for 20 or 30 years before the last redistricting. I see nothing wrong with having two councilors represent one neighborhood. That's happened before and will happen again. Thank you.
Okay, so you're now ready to vote for the substitute motion. Please vote. So, the substitute was 1E. Okay, and so E passed, and so we know we'd go back to the main motion. But will you please vote on the main motion? 7 in favor and one in opposition. It passes. So that ends the business for today. Thank you all very, very much.
I lost a little bit.